Hello everybody and welcome to chapter number 3, Supply and Demand. And this is probably the most important chapter that we're going to be dealing with this semester and probably the most important model in all of economics. The things that we talk about within this particular section are things that we're going to be seeing throughout the rest of the semester. So I would highly encourage you to get the foundation that you get from this particular chapter, understand what is going on, and learn how to draw all of these graphs and see exactly the way that they shift, because you will be using these skills as we progress throughout the rest of the semester. And the chapter is sort of divided up into two different parts. We take a look at the demand side of the market, and we also take a look at the supply side of the market. We start off pretty generally just by taking a look at markets themselves. What are a few examples of markets? What do markets entail? And then we get straight into the demand side of the market. So how is the demand curve derived? What does the demand curve look like? How exactly are we going to shift our demand curve when we talk about the determinants of demand? So do we shift the demand curve over to the right, away from the origin, or do we shift the demand curve towards the origin over to the left? This is where we're going to be spending a lot of time and drawing out a lot of graphs. And then once we finish up the demand side of the market, we're going to do the same exact damn thing on the supply side of the market. So what does the supply curve look like? How do we derive the supply curve? And exactly what is the law of supply and the determinants of supply? So what's going to shift our supply curve in this section? Once we build up the supply side of the market, we combine both demand and supply together in order to determine what our market equilibrium price and market equilibrium output is going to be. So here with our model, we're very focused in on two main variables, the price and quantity or output for a particular market. And then once we do that, we're going to go ahead and see how this equilibrium is going to change once we introduce single and simultaneous shifts of supply and demand. And that's probably the most complex thing that we take a look at within this particular chapter, and something that you will see repeatedly as we go through later chapters. So just starting off pretty simple for us, let's go ahead and just talk about what markets are. And markets are institutions that bring buyers and sellers together. Essentially, markets are a place for you to exchange money for goods and services. So let's go ahead and write that down just so you get a little bit of a better idea of what markets are. So a little bit of a more trivial task once again, but in terms of markets, we can go ahead and say that this is where buyers and sellers meet with one another in order to buy goods and services. It's also a place to exchange money for goods and services. So place to exchange money for goods and services. For goods and services. So buyers have some particular product that they want to buy, sellers want to sell that particular product, and markets are exactly the place where these buyers and sellers are going to meet. You as a buyer have some type of money, and you want to exchange this money for a particular good or service. And there are a lot of different types of markets that we can think about. So just in your mind, what's the first market that comes into your mind? They can be pretty general, or they can actually be pretty specific as well. You can say, hey, what about the car market? So the car market, fairly big market. You can buy new cars, used cars, a lot of different places for you to buy cars. You can go to the dealership. You can go to, say, AutoZone or one of those other places that you see on the commercials. You can go to Carvana. You can actually buy a car from a vending machine if that sort of suits you. A car market is a market that we can take a look at. We can also say, hey, why not the housing market? So housing market, some of you are in the market for buying a house, maybe buying an apartment or condo, maybe renting a place out. That would fall under the housing market. And we can get a little bit more specific as well. We can say, hey, why not Amazon? Amazon sells everything from A to Z. This is also a particular market because this is a place where you exchange money to buy goods and services. You can say Apple in this end as well. And if you want to get a little bit dark, once again, with our examples, you can say go ahead, the black market for your organs. There are people that want to go ahead and buy and sell your organs. So all of these are pretty much examples of markets that we have in the real world. And there's a lot more they can go ahead and think about. There's a stock market, there's, say, eBay, the textbook market, the alcohol market, anything that your mind sort of desires in this end. And essentially, in terms of these examples of markets, you do notice that they differ in a lot of different characteristics. They differ in size, So there are some markets that are very, very big, say like Amazon right here, and then there are markets that are very, very small. You can go to your mom and pop shop or some type of flea market in order to buy a good or service. They differ in location. So do they have a brick and mortar store, a physical location, or do they only sell primarily online through the internet? They also differ in products. If you go to Publix, you're probably only going to buy some type of grocery type of items. You probably wouldn't go there to buy some type of tech or computers. That's where you go, say, Best Buy or Apple instead. So here, obviously, markets are going to differ in the products that they give out or that they sell. And then finally here, as we can see with the black market, they also do differ in legality. So is it legal? Is it not legal? So most of these are legal. The black market, if you want to buy drugs, organs, those are not going to be so legal. So here, as you can see, there are a lot of different characteristics and features of particular markets. In terms of markets themselves, the most important piece of information that they provide to us is going to be the price. So the price is probably the most important variable that we're going to see within this supply and demand model. And prices do send signals in free market economies for both buyers and sellers. For buyers, it tells them what should they buy, how much should they buy, are they getting a good deal on purchasing this item. On sellers, on the other hand, it allows them to say, hey, what good should I sell? How much of this good should I sell? Through which method should I sell? So prices are going to be the most important variable because they send signals to both of the entities that we see in the market, both buyers and sellers. And in terms of this, we're only going to see the price system under the market or capitalist system that we saw or that we built up in the previous chapter. So market economies use the prices that are developed in order to allocate resources, goods, and services. So the markets that we're going to be focusing in on in this particular chapter and for the rest of the semester are primarily going to fall in terms of the capitalist or market systems. We don't tend to focus too much on the planned economies, essentially because we're never going to see any prices in that type of economic distribution system because the government basically controls everything. Here, under market economies, under the capitalist system, prices can emerge, and that allows us to give a little bit of free choice into sort of purchasing our goods and items and also selling them in that end. Now that we have a better idea of what markets are, we can go ahead and build up the demand side of the market. I'll see you guys in that section.